Oh, it's such a pleasure to be here in Louisville, which is becoming one of my favorite cities. I've been coming here for the last 4 years or so, and I love it every time I come. And I want to thank everybody, all the organizers and Owsley and everyone for being here. And thank you, Susan, for inviting me. Before I start, I'm curious, how many people out here are currently teachers or have ever been teachers? Wow, we have a lot of you. So I think you'll really resonate with what I have to say about bringing compassion into our classrooms. Sometimes if you've ever been a teacher, it might feel like this sometimes. Anybody? I see a lot of people know. So when you think about the classroom, in many ways it's like a pressure cooker, right? Everyone in this space is a virtual captive. The teacher can't run out of the classroom, even though she might want to. And the students can't leave either. So when there's a lot of emotional energy, it can be challenging. It can trigger a lot of stress. So I started my career as a teacher, and then I became a teacher educator, and I was observing student teachers for many years. I was also teaching these same students classroom management. And what became really clear to me was an issue with emotion regulation, that it interfered with classroom management. If you're a parent, how many people here are parents? So it works the same way for parents. If you're emotionally triggered, it's hard to manage your kids' behavior. Anybody had that experience? Because it creates a dynamic that is not helpful to the relationship. It can interfere with the relationship, and it often escalates into a power struggle, which adults can never win power struggles with children. So you have to learn to avoid these things. So anyway, I became so interested in this stress issue. I went back and got my doctorate in human development, and I studied stress and coping and the stress response. And it became really clear to me that in this stressful classroom environment that's so demanding, where your attention as a teacher is completely directed outwardly, because you're supposed to be paying attention to all of these students and what they're doing, what their needs are, and whether they're behaving according to your expectations, and what you do if they don't. You also have to hold on to in your mind the content that you're supposed to be teaching, right? And so when somebody over here interrupts your lesson, and you're trying to get done before the bell, it can be very stressful. And it's natural and normal for a human being to feel anger when your goals are threatened. So when this student over here has interfered, it's really easy for me to take that behavior personally, instead of understanding that maybe he's just a wiggly guy and he just, he's hungry or he didn't get enough sleep or who knows what. But basically the stress response kind of blows my ability to function. And I might overreact, anyway, it's hard to be compassionate when you're feeling this way, when your brain is on stress like this. So I became really interested in the stress response, and what I realized after studying it is that our stress response evolved over many, many thousands of years to deal with this kind of stress. This is a picture of a lion about to chase a photographer in a Jeep and eat him. The photographer captured that moment of, I'm going to eat you, right? So when we feel that kind of stress, it prepares us to run like heck, right? Because we want to get away from that lion. So our neurotransmitters and hormones pump through our bodies so that we can get ready to do that. Unfortunately, it also kind of turns off parts of our cognitive functioning that we really need in order to solve problems. So this stress response actually interferes with our ability to function in these psychosocial contexts. This old response we evolved to handle a lion doesn't work in a classroom. And so we started thinking, well, how can we help teachers manage this stress, manage these emotions? And it became really clear to us that mindfulness and compassion training could be really useful. And the work that we've been doing, and I won't go into it a lot, but it actually evolved out of the meeting that Jinpa was talking about with His Holiness in 2001 that was focused on destructive emotions, because Paul Ekman and Alan Wallace, a meditation teacher, realized that if you combine emotion skills training and mindful awareness practices, it will help people recognize and be able to regulate their emotions more effectively. So my colleagues and I developed a program called Care for Teachers. And the Care for Teachers program combines mindful awareness practices and emotion skills practices along with compassion practices. And all of these practices in the CARE program are applied to the experiences the individual teachers are having through role plays. So if I'm having a difficulty with a particular student and we look at the skills we've been learning and we think about how I could use those skills to deal with that situation, and then we act it out and practice it. So it's very applied, and these teachers learn how to bring a compassionate and more mindful approach to their teaching lives. And so over the course of the last 5 years, we've been doing a very large randomized controlled trial of this Care for Teachers program in schools, elementary schools in New York City, in Upper Manhattan and the Bronx. And if any of you know about New York City, that's an area of New York where there are very under-resourced schools with children that are exposed to a lot of hardship and poverty. And we chose this environment in particular because not only did we know that those are environments where teachers feel more extreme levels of stress than other classrooms, but we also felt like these students would benefit even more from this kind of approach. So we randomly assigned teachers within schools to receive the Care for Teachers program or be in a waitlist control. And then we looked at the teachers' self-reported measures, and we also looked at their classrooms. So we had investigators, researchers, observe all these classrooms in both groups before and after one group got the CARE training, and we coded these classrooms on dimensions of emotional supportiveness. And what we see from this research is that the teachers showed significantly reduced emotional and psychological distress, reduced time urgency. So anyone who's been a teacher knows you never have enough time and you're always fighting the clock. Well, these teachers learn to calm down and not feel that time pressure. We also found that the teachers were improved in mindfulness, and also their emotion regulation was more adaptive. But what's really exciting is that the classrooms improved. The teachers were more emotionally supportive, they were more sensitive to the needs of their students, and they were more emotionally positive. And the classrooms showed greater productive use of time. Finally, the students were more engaged. We had 5,200 students in this sample, and they showed signs of being more engaged. So this is an exciting study, in my opinion, because it shows that by training teachers how to apply mindful awareness and compassion to their own ability to function better, they teach better and their students do better. We didn't teach them how to teach better. We only taught them how to take care of themselves and manage themselves better. So if you're interested in more about this, I do have a book out called Mindfulness for Teachers, where a lot of those ideas are in this book, and some of the practices from the CARE program are also in this book. But another project that I've been working on here that I want to highlight is the Compassionate Schools Project, which many of you know about here. It's taking place here in Louisville, Kentucky, and that's how I've gotten to know this wonderful city so well. I think there's some CSP folks around here. Where are you guys? Waving back there. There's our CSP staff back there. I want to acknowledge them. I'm so glad they could come. They are amazing. What they're doing in the schools here is absolutely amazing. So this is a way of thinking about these practices as a whole school approach. So what we've done is we've created a health and well-being curriculum that's replacing what they call here a practical living, which is health and PE basically, to combine mindful awareness practices, understanding compassion and compassion practices, movements and postures and mindful movement that comes from yoga postures, and then also healthy eating skills. And it's a developmental curriculum, and we are doing a very large randomized controlled trial of this curriculum here in Louisville, Kentucky, with 50 schools, 25 randomized to receive CSP, and 50 that will be in our control group, so that we can really see at the school level, can we really transform our schools and make them more compassionate places in this beautiful, compassionate city of Louisville, Kentucky. And this beautiful project would not have happened if it hadn't been for Owsley Brown. So we have to thank him. And I thought it would be appropriate to end my session showing a brief 3-minute video about our project here in Louisville, Kentucky. So you guys out back there can cue the video.
At first, I didn't really know what to expect because it's never been something that I've experienced before. Like, I've never had like a class devoted to how to be mindful. It's different because there's not like chairs and desks everywhere.
It is absolutely like nothing else anyone has ever seen before, but it's a wonderful change.
When I visit elementary schools, it's clear that there are some obstacles that are getting in the way of learning and achievement.
We have students who aren't necessarily ready to come to school and aren't in great positions to learn. What Compassionate Schools is doing is it's helping students learn those appropriate coping strategies. How do we solve problems? What is this emotion that I'm feeling right now?
Everybody sit up nice and tall. Before it was just calm down. We'd simply say calm down. Now we're teaching them strategies that they can actually use and benefit from throughout life. This has been kind of the missing piece.
What I like about the Compassionate School Project is that what problems I have at home, I can release them during CSP. Usually when I come in here, something has happened during the day and it just helps me calm down. Having a younger brother and sister, having to take tests.
Sometimes when my cousin's over, he drives me nuts a little, and he woke me up this morning and drove me nuts. And I like coming in here because it's very easy to take the stuff that you had in the morning or in your life away.
What I've noticed is students really are fascinated with that idea of compassion for other people, and I think it seems like something they've almost been craving.
Mindful means that you take your thoughts, your inner feelings, and you use them in your benefit to get through your day, to worry about yourself, to deal with frustration. It's a big difference because I have used what Mr. Wedding has taught me. I take it to classes and at home, teaching my parents what I've learned in CSP.
I think that we want our world to be a more peaceful place, and we want our citizens to be more thoughtful and more mindful about the decisions that they make when they're interacting with one another.
So what's at stake is our kids having a great life, our kids having a future, and they're counting on us. They're absolutely counting on us to figure it out.
Yeah, it's very exciting work, and thank you, Tish, for sharing your work. And we have a few minutes for questions and comments, if anybody has any.
Tish, how long do you expect to follow some of the children who are going through this program?
The main part of the study is going to be each school. We have 2 cohorts. They're both going to get 2 years, and then we're going to do follow-up. And we're also working to build ongoing capacity in these schools. So once we leave, they'll continue to do that. So it'll be an additional 3 years. And we're also really considering what the next steps will be, because we know that when students move from elementary to middle school, that can be a challenging time for them too.
I have a question. Tish, it seems to me when you were talking about the classroom and the stress of the teachers that there must be high turnover. So if you could speak a little bit about that and what you're hoping to find from this work.
Yeah, and we haven't had the opportunity to actually study that yet, like whether we're actually impacting that, but long term I would like to do that. Right now, approximately 50% of teachers leave within 5 years. It's a very high attrition rate. It's costing our society billions of dollars a year in lost productivity. A lot of that is teachers today are dealing with a lot of challenges. A lot of more students are coming to school with needs that are unmet. But again, teachers are not given the training that they need to understand and manage those situations very well. And here at the University of Virginia, I've been very, very privileged to have the opportunity to really rethink how we train our teachers to prepare them for these environments. And I do that in the context of a classroom management class again, which I'm now teaching. So I've been working on that, and I feel like our students coming out of our program are going to be better prepared, but I would love to follow them and see if they do better than the 50%. Important problem.
Thank you.
I just have a very, very practical question. My wife teaches 2 days at school, 2 days at a school, social emotional learning. So my question is, this program, I mean, earlier you showed that chart with all the stuff that the teacher has to keep in the mind, you know, sort of juggling in the mind. So that was very stressful kind of slide was there. So teachers are always struggling with time. Mm-hmm. So how does, I mean, this particular program, is it once a week for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, or is it something that every content teacher also teaches? I mean, how does, in practical terms, how does this work?
The CARE program or the CSP program?
Second program?
The compassionate
the compassionate
cities.
schools.
Yeah.
So here in Louisville, the health and PE, which they call practical living, is a special time.
So it sort of replaces that, basically.
So we're replacing
okay,
it. They get it twice a week for 40 minutes or so, a period, twice a week. So that's
The teachers are getting training too.
no. The students get it that amount of time. The teachers who are being prepared to do this also get the CARE program. So during the summer, we teach those teachers some of those skills that I was talking about early for the teachers to prepare them to teach the CSP.
So you have special teachers who will be trained in a particular way to. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
But they're regular teachers, though.
They're regular
They're
teachers.
not special. Yeah, great.
We're not bringing outside people in, we're training and I think this is really critical because in order for these kinds of approaches to have an impact in schools, the capacity needs to be built within the schools rather than bringing people from the outside.
Thank you.
Thank you.